So welcome everybody to another Fridays at 4. We're here on Blab every Friday afternoon at 4 p.m. Pacific time. And I'm delighted to welcome Andrea Vahl. Andrea, we didn't do an official what I'm going to say about you, but what I'm going to say about you is that you're the co-author of Facebook Marketing All-in-One for Dummies. She's
right.
About to give you a visual, I think. There it is. She also was the community manager at Social Media Examiner for about 2 years, which you must have been there for the rocket ship of their growth.
Yeah, and they're still growing like crazy, of course. But yes, it was a great growth and just an amazing place.
And how long have you been on your own since leaving there?
I think it's been a couple years of that too. So I think that was, it's been 2 years. I still work with them very closely though. I'm a consultant with them and I do a lot of guest posting and I created a lot of videos for them. So it feels like I never leave.
You're part of their virtual team.
Yeah.
And and then you do, is it Social Media Manager School? Is that what we were just talking about before we started the recording?
That's co-founded that with Phyllis Kerr, and we have trained over 1,000 people. We just closed our doors, actually, I think it's been a week ago. We open up twice a year and bring in new students. It's a great course. If I do say so myself, it is awesome.
Really so it'll be back around. And I was going to invite people, I checked out your website and I'm going to talk a little bit about your quick start guide because I think that that's interesting, but I put your URL right there in the chat, AndreaVahl.com. And I subscribed and I downloaded, and as somebody who, I wrote a book called Internet Marketing, 8 Key Concepts Every Business Must Know. Because I recognize, I call it the Grand Canyon gap between people and technology. There's just so much information and social media just keeps going. So I respect, I guess the first thing I want to say is that I met you on Blab. I mean, it's like we're meeting kind of face to face in a virtual sense right now. But I had an experience of you and your authority and your expertise via Blab. And then we hooked up and so I checked out your stuff. And I really think a lot of small businesses need a good foundation. And, that download your quick start guide, it really walks people through the basics of getting started and creating profiles and optimizing profiles. And what does a Google Plus profile look like, a Twitter profile, a Facebook profile, et cetera.
Yeah.
And there are differences, of course. So anyway, I respect your authority and I love that you're doing that.
Great.
Let's see. So I thought I'd ask you, so in my mission to make things easier and accessible for people, I've broken the process down. When people are trying to get started on social media, what do they need to do and how does it work? So here's my high-tech visuals. Go ahead. Do you want to say something?
Great. Yeah. And we can definitely talk big picture. And then I don't know if you want to talk specific more,
tips
get
and tricks
down into
absolutely.
the Facebook advertising or how you want to incorporate
well, I'm going to ask you about that for sure.
Okay. All right. I just want to make sure I know where it's all going so I can, but yeah, I think really it's about getting started and diving in. I mean, I think a lot of times people do make the mistake on social media thinking that it's a broadcasting platform where they're just going to be able to share their messages. But I think it's way better when you're talking to people like this, when you're participating, when you're connecting in chats, when you are commenting on posts and much more interactive. So that's my number one tip, is that you have to talk to others in their communities. And that's actually a really good growth strategy too, because what happens is I think people think they want to just grow their own and that's great. That'll happen. But if you go and connect with people where the conversation is happening in a larger community and let them, be very authentic and connect with people there just in a spirit of service, then you are going to have that natural growth. And, advertising is definitely a way to grow as well. But if you're looking to grow organically, you go and participate in other people's communities first, and then that will naturally grow your own.
And targeting specifically influeers that are, we had Fred Green from Golf Smarter here. He would go out and find other golf bloggers, other golf podcasters, and and they would fertilize each other, so to speak. That
right, right.
What you're saying?
Yeah, very true.
And it's a big thing. I mean, the other part of that for me, for sure, is you got to be in it to win it, kind of thing. And you can. It's actually a golf expression, but paralysis of analysis. People sit around thinking about social media or strategizing, but they don't ever do anything.
Yeah.
And that's, for me, Blab, I felt an immediate affinity, and that it's one of the places I'm playing now, obviously Fridays at 4 on a weekly basis, at least. But I was on last night and learning stuff and meeting other really good, talented people sharing great information. So it works. Yep. I hear you. So I'll put my 3-step process on the back burner for a minute, because you kind of were pointing towards, and this whole thing of getting involved, I think, is so crucial for people starting out. And the number one complaint I hear, well, actually, the number one complaint is about the shyster, make a quick buck. These are the people I consider kind of the enemy of, you just do this 6-week course and you're going to have a 6-figure income. Right? Yeah. It's like, thumbs down to that. But at the same time, the number 2 complaint I guess I hear is about overwhelm. Everybody is just so busy.
That's the other thing is I really advise people to only do a couple of platforms, really just rock out 1 or 2. Don't feel like you have to go on Twitter and Facebook and Google Plus and LinkedIn, all of those. And I mean, certainly some of them are easier than others to have more of a presence, like LinkedIn. Of course, you have a presence there as a professional where you really spend some time crafting your profile, adding in keywords so you come up in searches, and maybe focusing on a little growth there. But you don't have to go and do Twitter and Google Plus and Blab. You don't have to do it all and Pinterest. Like, I actually don't do Pinterest very well. I love Pinterest. I think it's cool, but I know that if I dive in there too much, I just kind of lose a couple hours. All of a sudden it's like gone. And so I just kind of say, you know what, I'm going to pin a few things. I'm going to have some boards, but that's definitely not a place where I'm strong. And I think that there's you just have to focus. So.
Yeah. And I mean, that's a really big concept that a lot of people miss, is they think they need to do all of it. And you can only build organically 1 step at a time.
Yeah. And once you get comfortable with a certain platform, then you can go out and add maybe, a different one if you feel the need to. But I think I've seen businesses doing really well. They're like, oh, should I choose Facebook or Twitter? And I think I've seen every business, do really well on a certain platform. Like, there's a shipping company that's really rocking out their Instagram. It's just things that you don't even you wouldn't necessarily say would be the perfect platform. If you like it, then you're going to do better with it.
Yeah. That multi-platform kind of question raises another thing. I think you did a post that I reposted about the new Facebook Notes platform, which of course is only on the personal profile side, not on the pages.
Right.
But I was thinking about something and starting to experiment. And then Joel Comm did a post about, once you do a blog post, put it in Facebook Notes, put it on LinkedIn Pulse, and put it also on Medium, which I think is really a cool environment. Are you in agreement that it's good to take your blog posts and put them across 4 platforms like that?
I mean, I think it just depends on how you, I don't know. I mean, I think that that can be definitely a good thing to do. It, again, comes down to making sure you've got the time, because that does still take time, but I mean, I think it's not a bad thing to do if you've got some time there and you have an audience. But I think you focus on growing your own blog posts for sure.
Well, yeah. Well, and see, for me, this is the way I'm thinking about it. And I'll bounce it off you, but it's like, for me, I love meeting people. I have a blog post that I haven't written yet called "Have You Met Me Online?" Because I don't think most people that have read my posts, that have even seen my YouTube videos, have met me the way you and I are meeting now, and the way that I'm meeting people on Blab. And so that's why I really want to draw people in here. So I'm thinking, take a subject. I didn't get to do it this week because, like we were talking about time, but let's say it's going to be about Facebook advertising, and I do a blog post about my perspective about it. And if you want more, come to Fridays at 4. And I put that as a Facebook note, and I put that as a LinkedIn, Medium, and the rest of it. So that way, everything's kind of ramping up and pointing in, and it's leveraging that one piece of writing that I did.
Right.
So, okay, good. So the other big thing for me, well, there's two other big areas, I think, and then we'll dive into Facebook advertising specifically. But, the learning curve is a big issue. I mean, and Facebook advertising specifically, I've done targeted audiences and boosted posts, but it's like almost like you have to study it. Like, I have a background and I've done a bunch of Google AdWords, so I'm pretty comfortable with that kind of interface. But somebody just starting out, what do you recommend to them learning wise to be able to wrap their brains around this pretty big gorilla, isn't it?
Yeah, so you're talking about specifically on Facebook ads.
Specifically going into Facebook ads.
Yeah, so like if you're going to start with Facebook ads, the thing that the biggest mistake that most people make starting out with Facebook ads is they just use the boosted post option. That option should only be used very sparingly. Only to re-engage and connect with your current audience. It's a terrible, terrible traffic driver for most cases. And a lot of times what you're trying to do, because the reason it is a terrible traffic driver is because that ad is optimized already by Facebook to go out and find the people who kind of click like or comment on posts and do that type of thing, which is okay. But it's not going towards those people who click on links more often. Facebook tracks all of our activities, figure out who is more likely to click on links. And so it can be okay. It just, again, depends on depends on the content for sure, but you're better off going into the ads manager and doing a website click ad where you're optimizing around getting website clicks. So the boosted post has its place, and that place is really just to connect with your own audience and reconnect with them, and not do any outside targeting. Always use boosted posts just for your fans. And the reason is because you're going to do some outside targeting, and that ad is optimized to get a like or a comment or whatever that might be. And that person that is not a fan of yours is going to click like on your post, and that's going to charge you 50 cents or whatever that is. And then they're never going to see you again. They have not liked your page. They've just clicked like on your ad and charged you 50 cents. So
I have seen some. I have a client that I'm doing boosted posts for, and we've driven quite a bit of traffic to her blog. We're doing posts about her blog posts, and that's what we're boosting. And people are clicking and going to read the blog post, and so we're not driving a specific conversion or list building.
Sure,
but we're driving readers to the blog.
Yeah, and that can be okay, but you're probably going to get much cheaper clicks if you go into and optimize for website clicks.
And there you're talking about setting up a funnel where you're driving specific conversion targets, right?
That I'm just talking about. With that, I'm just talking about going into the ads manager itself and setting up the ad from scratch, where you go and say what the objective of the ad is to get more clicks to the website. And so you go in and create that ad where it's getting more clicks to the website, and then it's going to be naturally shown to the people who are more likely to click, and you're going to get cheaper click prices because of it. I've seen seen boosted posts where we're getting, website click costs of $2 a click, where when we optimize for website clicks, you can get 50 cents a website click or even less. I have a client right now where we're getting 18 cents a web click, which is awesome. Yeah,
it's great. But you didn't quite answer my question in terms of training. In other words, if I'm just coming in, I'm a newbie and I want to.
Right. So boosted posts. Okay. So I didn't get to that. So
there's so much.
I know there's so much. So it is, if you're new, it is a good idea to just boost a couple of posts just to get your feet wet. You can just boost them for like $5 or $10, but boost only to your current fans. Only to your current fans. The next thing I would suggest for a newbie would be to run a like campaign. Just to, again, that's one of the easiest campaigns you can do. You get more fans that way and just test things out. But don't just run one like campaign. Try 2 different audiences. So you're going to optimize your ad around maybe 2 different groups of people based on their interests and keywords. So you might start thinking, okay, who are my, maybe your ideal client is someone like authors or coaches or something like that. So you can put those interests in there, or even like the fan, you can target the fans of another page. So if there's, for example, like if it were me, I might say, you know what, I want to connect with the fans of Social Media Examiner. So in the interest section, I'm going to type in Social Media Examiner, and now I'm showing my ad to like my page to the fans of Social Media Examiner. And hopefully, because they're more familiar with me, they might be more likely to convert into my own fan. So those are 2 ways that I would say to have people just get started. But do that split test on those different audiences, and it's kind of fun because then you get to see which one responds better. Is it this audience or is it this audience? And then you're starting to get a little bit more information about what targeting you should choose.
Yeah, that's great. So really you're saying learn by doing.
Yeah.
You know, because there are a lot of courses. You have courses.
I have a course.
You have the book. You have, it's like, there are other people out there.
Read this really thick book that's like really thick.
Yeah, so not many of us want to read a book that thick, although some people do learn better that way.
Yeah.
But I learn a lot by doing. Are there other resources that you recommend?
On my blog. I have a ton of posts on my blog about Facebook advertising. And
you also have a lot of free webinars.
I have a lot of free webinars. So I have a whole free webinar on Facebook advertising. So that's what I should have recommended. Don't do it. Take my webinar. Thanks.
Yeah. So Jody's doing that. Yeah, and so it's interesting. You give away a lot of free content.
I do.
A very quick aside is that, you just, other things are going well enough that you're not worried about that? Or
I definitely use my free content to connect with people and grow my email list. And I blog a lot. So I think that it just is a great way to establish yourself as an expert and also get connected with new people who need to learn this stuff. And then I have the online courses and training so that hopefully, if they need more in depth, then they can buy my course.
Good. Another big question that I want to ask, and we'll open it up shortly for other people's questions. And Andrea put up her webinar link there.
Oh, yeah, Jody did.
.com/free-webinars in case you're watching on YouTube or whatever and can't see the chat. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and Jody's doing a great job of putting that stuff up.
You guys are so awesome at promoting me. That's so great. Thank you, guys.
So one of the things that I think almost every small business comes up against at some point, unless people are die-in-the-wool do-it-yourselfers, is should I learn this myself and try and take on the learning curve versus hiring an expert, whether it's you or somebody else, to build the team. Yeah. Obviously, there are financial issues whether or not you can afford to hire somebody else.
Yeah.
But what's your feeling about that, and are there tips about bringing people on board? Or
first of all, if people need someone to help them with their social media management, we've got a whole great group of social media managers that I can help connect you to.
Do you have a directory on your site of people who graduated your school?
Hold on, I'm going to get socialmediamanagersdirectory.com, and that I refer people to that all the time.
Oh, that's another great. I really appreciate the specifics of what you're by the way. Very actionable.
Yeah.
So socialmediamanagersdirectory.com. Yeah. That's a great resource. I'm happy to hear about that myself.
So yeah, it's great. But as far as whether people should do it themselves or not, it really comes down. I believe in hiring the right talent, for your business. I think that you save so much time. And if you enjoy learning and diving in and keeping up with social media, then I say go for it. But if that's not your core strength and you're just trying to save a little bit of money, it's not worth it, because you end up spending so much time finding the right article, finding an article that's not out of date, finding the right steps for you, there's so many things where it can go wrong for you if you are not following the latest information, and also, if you're not really enjoying it, because it's not going to be fun. And you can get back to your core business and do what you do best and let someone else do it. And it really doesn't, hiring an expert, I think people think it's going to break their bank, but it really doesn't. And it's worth it.
Yeah. Not everybody has the aptitude, for sure.
Yeah.
It requires a certain amount of software jockeying. And,
yeah,
some people love it and some people don't. And I'm very much with you. It should be fun.
Yeah.
Otherwise, what's the point?
I know. It's like accounting for me. I just, as soon as, that was the very, very first thing. I think I just was taking everything I earned in my business right when I was starting out and just putting it right to my accountant. I was like, I don't care. This is going to get outsourced first, because I cannot do that stuff. So, but, for other things, I kind of like learning about it. But I also, for my website design, I don't try and do that. I did that very, very initially when I first started. I did my own website, but I hired someone to do my header for me, because I can't do design. So even with a low budget, I totally bootstrapped it when I was first starting out. I still knew what my limitations were, and I hired out, the right people.
Yeah, I'll put in a little shameless plug there. One of the things that's really changed for me is doing websites on Squarespace. I just put my combridges.com URL in there, I think.
Okay.
There we go.
Yeah.
And I've been doing WordPress for years and have a virtual team, but I always had to subcontract it and made it much more expensive.
Yeah.
Squarespace, I can really just do it and have fun doing it.
Yeah.
And so it's changed everything for me.
Yeah, if it's fun, it's good.
End of plug.
Yeah.
All right. My last question for you, and then we'll open it up for everybody else to jump in and find out what they want to hear about. Because I could pick your brain about this stuff all day. But, so you told us not to, you gave your qualifications about boosted posts.
Yeah.
What are the other 3 most common mistakes that people make that you can warn us about so we don't go down the wrong funnel here?
Yeah, the other big mistake.
Facebook advertising.
Yes, Facebook advertising secret. So the other big mistake that I think people make, and I kind of alluded to this, is not testing enough different things to see what's working. I've had people who just get online or just get on Facebook ads and they try one ad and it doesn't go that well. And they're like, well, that didn't work for me. And, it really, you have to test different audiences, different images. There's so many different things that can respond well. Like I just was working with a client just today where we were getting $3 a conversion for an opt-in, and we changed the image. All we did was change the image, and it went down to $1 per opt-in. So it can be a huge difference sometimes, and little things can make a big difference. So do your testing. And what I always suggest first is do your testing on your audiences first and get the right audience, use the same ad, and then start tweaking some of the other things like the images and the maybe the type of ad you're running or text in the ad, whatever. So that's probably number 1 is not doing enough testing. I think, that boosted post is definitely a big thing. And then the other thing I would suggest too is if you are doing, I guess the other mistake I'd really say is trying to go for the sale right away. Facebook ads work much better when you're offering something for free and then using your email to sell down the road. So use Facebook ads to grow your list first. That's a way better use of your dollars, because then you've got something tangible at the end. You've got someone's email list or someone's email address rather than just sending them to a place where they could buy something and then they bounce off and never see you again.
Yeah, no, and T-ville Social Med also, or I guess most probably social media, made the point that it's fundamentally about value.
Mm-hmm.
That's when I talk and teach, I call it leading with value.
Mm-hmm.
And Gary Vaynerchuk says the same. You don't want to be like a teenage boy on their first date, trying to go too far, right? It's like you need to build a relationship step by step, and take them to dinner first.
Yeah. Yes, exactly.
So the chair is open. The seat is open if anybody wants to come in with a question or comment. And so I ruled out I ruled out the boosted post. So is there a third common mistake here?
Yeah, so you made me come up with 4 because no,
yeah, you already did boosted post.
Did.
That's right.
So that was my darn. That's my go-to.
I'm getting my money's worth.
No, I would say there's a lot of mistakes people can make, right? There's always ways we can get better. So I would say another mistake is can be around some of understanding the pixels and how those work. There's a conversion pixel which can allow you to track whether people are opting into your offer, and then it gives you a cost for how much it costs per opt-in. So, using those kinds of things to do a little bit better tracking, because then you can optimize around the ad that's doing the best for you in terms of your true goal, which is getting people onto your email list. So I would say that would be another.
Good question. And I'll let Martin in here. Are you using video, and what about Facebook video? Is it true that Facebook video ads convert better? Hey, Martin.
Hi guys. How you doing? Okay?
Let her answer this one, and then you're next.
Sure.
So the videos convert better on Facebook? Is that something you recommend?
I have done a lot of video ads. I mean, I guess I would say not a lot, not like tons and tons, but the video ads that I've done have done really well in terms of cost per view, and they get a lot of good reach out there for sure. But in terms of conversion, I have usually just see that a website conversion ad has done better for my clients. Now, I know that there's lots of people talking about video ads and how well they do. So I always just say test yourself. And that's what I've done is test for my clients, and the video ads that we were testing didn't do as well as just a straight up, image and send them over to the site.
Martin, if you don't mind, and Jody, welcome. Good to have you here too, and I appreciate your comments. What about this new Facebook profile video thing? Do you have insights about that and tips about that? Is that something you recommend? I see people posting a profile video. How long can those be, and what's up with that? You have not played with it?
What are you trying?
Yeah, there's a new thing where you can.
Is that only available in specific countries still, though? That hasn't rolled out everywhere?
It's only in Ireland at the moment, and I think.
Oh, are you talking about the?
Profile picture.
Yeah.
Yeah, where it changes. Yeah, that's only available in certain countries, I think. So.
No, people are doing like a short. I don't know. They seem to be like 20, 30 seconds long. Hi, I'm Jon Leland from combridges.com. I'm really glad that you like my Facebook page or whatever.
Yeah,
you haven't seen those.
Well, there's lots of videos that are available right on the page. Is that what you're talking about? Where
no, it's a profile.
It's a profile.
The picture.
A picture.
Their profile picture.
Yeah,
it's not a picture. It's a video.
It's a video which.
But the profile picture would be on their Facebook page. That's what you mean, yeah?
Yeah. So effectively, where your profile picture is, you can now convert that to a video, and you can do a short. I don't know how long it is, but it's only available at the moment in a couple of countries. I think 2 countries at the moment. One of them I know is Ireland.
Yeah.
Okay, because I've definitely seen some U.S. people or maybe Canadian people doing it.
What they're probably doing is changing their country to Ireland then.
Yeah.
That's right. There's a strategy.
Yeah.
So Martin, you're up. What's up? Where are you calling?
I'm calling from the UK. I'm in the Midlands by Warwick, the historic Warwick.
So, nice. I've been there.
It's a great place. It's my birthplace is great. It's great. So I live about 3 miles from the castle. So it's
nice.
total. Andrea, I was going to ask you, in terms of Facebook, how do you see, because some time ago, and I'm not going back too long ago, but they were talking about dark posts and the ability to use dark posts in terms of advertising. Is this still relevant now, or is it no longer relevant?
So here's what happened to dark posts, and they're still kind of
maybe say what they are.
Oh, yeah. So basically a dark post is also called an unpublished post, and you have to create that in the Power Editor, which is a little bit more advanced tool that you use with the Chrome browser. It's only available in the Chrome browser, and it's the dark post used to be so much better when you could kind of organize it where you had longer text. But what happened is they opened up that longer text to the regular ads now. So like if you start a website conversion ad in the Power Editor, you've got longer text available. They don't limit your text. They've got longer headlines available. And that was the advantage of the unpublished post, other than the fact that it didn't get put on your page. So that was kind of what the unpublished post was, is it looked a lot like a regular post with longer text and all kinds of stuff like that, but it didn't appear on your page. But now ads that you create in the Power Editor, any ad that you create in the Power Editor, with the exception of a Facebook like ad or an event ad, you have that longer text available. So I don't see any reason to use a dark post anymore. That's my take on it. Yeah.
Cool. Anything else, Martin?
I was listening to Michael Stelzner earlier on today, and
I was in there too for a brief bit.
Yeah, he was talking about the changes that were going on within the industry, and obviously what's going on with Facebook, and how things are going in terms of Facebook now allowing you to buy product while staying on the platform. Now, that's a big thing from my perspective, or how I see things. With that in mind, how do you feel in terms of the reach? Will this because the question I asked Michael, which he gave a great answer to, and the question I'll ask yourself now is, if I have a Facebook business page, I then subscribe to Facebook to use Facebook to sell my product, for example. Does this mean that my organic reach, which has been decreasing over the few months, especially in the last year, will this now be changed? Because obviously I'm using Facebook as my mode to sell my product, so therefore they have to make it enticing for me to spend my dollar to give to them.
Right.
What's your views on that?
Yeah, so I mean, I've had a lot of people ask this question, like, if I start spending money with Facebook, and I'm just going to paraphrase this to make sure I'm understanding if this is what you're asking, will Facebook then say, oh no, we're going to decrease their organic reach further because we can see that they're spending money, and are they kind of intertwined, right? And I've done some testing on that, and I haven't seen that be the case. Like, it's not like I use Facebook ads for a while and then I stop using them and then my organic reach plummets. It's not, I haven't seen any correlation in that. And I have people who have lots of conspiracy theories around all this. And I get it, because Facebook knows a lot, and they have their algorithm, is very powerful in terms of how we get seen. So, and they have a responsibility to their shareholders to try and get more of us to advertise with Facebook. But I haven't seen that correlation where if you advertise some and then your organic reach is affected by that at all. I'm still seeing organic reach. And I think it will be interesting as there's the ability to buy within Facebook, and as there's more and more advertisers coming into Facebook, how Facebook's going to manage that, because we don't want it to be a complete, platform of ads. That's not why people are there. So it'll be interesting.
Yeah, it is evolving very quickly. Martin, thank you so much for coming on. Really good questions. Jody, what's up with you?
Hi. Hello. Well, I'm coming to you from the future. It is Saturday, 9:30 in the morning.
And I'm going to turn a light on.
You're down under somewhere, right? Are you
down
Australia,
under.
New Zealand?
Yes. Oh my gosh. If I was from New Zealand, I would sound like this, bro. Okay, so that's a New Zealand accent. Okay, so this is Australia.
You have to forgive me for not distinguishing.
I know, we all sound the same, Americans, Canadians, it's the same thing. So it's Australia, it's Saturday, and I live at the coast, so the beach is just down the road, so it's awesome. So
I love the global quality here. Go ahead.
I know, it's very cool.
We'll just jump, in London, sorry, in England, we go, now Australia.
Yeah, it's fantastic. I was on with Michael Stilton, I think, last night as well, and that was like 1:30 in the morning, so that was hardcore to stay up for that one. But I've got a couple of questions for you, Andrea. So for page likes, so I've heard a couple of theories of another good avenue, and which I've tried and tested myself, is to use so you do a post on your page and then you'll go into your ads manager and use the promote post feature as another way of getting likes. It may be like a lower click, a cost per click. So what's your thoughts on that? Or do you find that the boost your promote page for likes is the better option?
Yeah, it's interesting because there's really, I haven't done any, that's interesting to me that I haven't done this, but I haven't done any split testing between trying it by launching it via, your page where that comes out versus the ads manager. Because I'm always in the ads manager. I rarely launch it via the page, but I know a lot of people do that. And so I've never tested to see if there's like a measurable difference.
Yeah, okay.
Because I don't really think there is. I think that it's still using the same optimization. You can use up to 10 keywords when you launch it via your page versus in the ads manager area or Power Editor, you can use, I think, unlimited. I've never found any limit on the keywords that you can use in interest. So I think that there's, I think it's just a light version of what they're doing there in the ads manager, is just kind of limiting the number of keywords you can use, but still using the same kind of optimization with that and how they're delivering that. But I've never officially done a test. I think that'd be interesting.
Let me, Jody, jump in and we'll get to your next question in a second. But one of the big things that I notice with small businesses over and over again is like a lack of strategy. And you're talking a lot about this ad for that objective.
Yeah.
Is there any kind of broad statement about specific strategies that are most commonly successful? Is there a way to, or is it just too specific in terms of what your business objective is?
Yeah, I mean, I think you always do want to use the right ad that fits the objective you have. And so if you're
first you have to have an objective.
Yeah,
folks.
so figuring out your objective, and sometimes that just depends on what your business is. It could be that you're trying to get people to your event. It could be that you're trying to get people over to your website and opting in or things like that. So I think definitely using the objective of the true objective of what you're trying to do is helpful. And then from there, I think really it's just the strategy is just about testing and testing and testing to get your costs lower. Yeah,
good. Cool. Jody, you had another question, I think.
Yeah, so from that then, so when you're doing, so say you do a page post engagement, what do you find is better? Like, do you optimize for impressions, clicks, or post engagement? What do you find works best?
Yeah, so I test those types of things as well. So I start by using the objective that Facebook allows or kind of sets for you. So optimizing it for like website clicks, if that's and so that what that bidding model is then like a CPM bidding model, cost per meal, cost per 1,000 impressions, is what that bidding model truly is when you say I'm going to optimize to get the most website clicks for the price. Facebook kind of gives you that as a default. If that is not going well for me, or if I'm not getting the reach I want, or I'm getting too high of a cost per click, then I switch the bidding model to something like a cost per click where I set the exact bid and watch it from there. And again, it's all about, I think it's still all about the testing, because I can't say that oh, CPM works better over CPC, because I've had it both ways, where sometimes I'm using one bidding model for a certain client, a certain offer, a certain focus group and niche, and then a different one works better with the CPM model. So you have to test that bidding models as well.
Yeah.
When you see people coming in and getting started, right? What kind of budget do you recommend to be able to get in and do at least some basic testing?
Yeah. So for people getting started, I always say use the bidding structure that Facebook puts forth for you as a default. I find that most often that works pretty well. And then as far as what you want to get in at, you really can get in at lots of different levels. I have clients who are spending $1 a day on certain ads, and just keeping them running for a long time, and just slow growth, kind of realizing that they just don't want to break the bank with that particular ad, but they want to keep it running, and they're getting a couple of likes a day or whatever it is. But then when I do a test to really kind of see, is this going to work in this way? I usually try and test it for at least $25 or $50 to run for like a day, and just see what kind of results I get. And a lot of times the testing phase can be a little bit more expensive than the actual long-term ad price you get, because you can up the budget and then get better results. But
yeah, let me answer the question that I asked you earlier and say, one of the biggest common mistakes that I see, both on Facebook ads and I have more experience with Google AdWords, is people just going in and spending money. I mean, I have a client that I'm now helping, literally spending tens of thousands of dollars a month on Google AdWords without optimizing, without testing, and they're getting some results, or they wouldn't be doing it.
Yeah.
But clearly they could get 2, 3, 4, maybe more times the bottom line by being more systematic and by working the kind of testing models you're talking. So I think that's the common mistake, is not really spending the time to test and optimize to really get the results. Because once you get the financial model where you can see, okay, I'm spending $50 a day and getting back 500, you're happy to up that, the spend, right?
It's an ATM.
You've got a model. And that's the brilliant, the amazing thing about online advertising that I think a lot of people don't realize is that you can get to that kind of sweet spot. Literally where the ROI is a no-brainer.
Yeah, you can.
And you take it to the bank. Go ahead, please.
And that's the kind of hard thing is, that's what you were talking earlier about, those marketers that are like, it's 8 Facebook ads or your cash machine,
Exactly.
And it really takes testing. And I hate when people say, oh, you can always get to 50 cents per opt-in, because that's so not true. I have clients who are spending $20 an opt-in, but that's okay for that market, and it's it's a high dollar item, so the ROI ends up being okay for them, but they're just not the same market. So you have to know that you have to get to that sweet spot, like you said. But
yeah, great. So we have another seat open for a question, but Jody, did you have another question?
I do. Okay, so for, like as you were saying, and as we know, like Facebook isn't really the selling platform. That's where you give them an offer and they opt in and you sell via your emails. What about for physical products? Like what would your offer or opt-in be for that?
Yeah, so that's challenging. It's hard to sometimes, like some businesses are hard to think of a freebie to give away. Sometimes it could be a coupon as a discount for something, but you don't always want to give a discount. One example I like to use for a realtor, there was a realtor who had a guide on bluebonnet viewing, and it was actually more of a blog post, but still it's something that is giving value to their core audience, who is the local market. So, think of something that your market is going to value that's still related to your business. So, the bluebonnet viewing may not be related as specifically to people looking to buy a home, but it certainly gets their name in front of that local area and gets passed around and shared because it's super valuable. a physical products. I mean, I think you can just sometimes have to brainstorm around what could be related that I could give away. Would it be a little, you know, a little video training about how to use my product or whatever, or something like that. So I think it can be challenging to come up with a relevant offer.
Yeah, those are great suggestions. So for those of you that are just joining us, welcome. We've been with Andrea Vahl talking about social media and Facebook advertising specifically for about 45 minutes. We've got another 15 minutes to go, and we have a chair open or a seat open for anybody else with questions or comments. Actually, I think it's the other way on my screen because it's all mirrored. I don't point anymore because it's like. But Jody, you have the question. Sure, do you have one more question?
I did have another one. Oh, okay. While I'm here and I've got the opportunity, lead ads, Andrea. Have you had a go on them? What are your thoughts?
I have not had a go on them. I've just we've been working with. I know. I've been doing actually a lot of speaking, and I was in England and Alaska and New York. And then also launching a product. So it's been a little nutty of a September for me. And actually, Tracy pointed out or gave the link for that improving your profile thing. So I totally missed that little bit of news there because of all the things going on. So I haven't tried the lead ads yet. I think it sounds really exciting and the possibilities sound really interesting as long as it is connecting up to your system, so it's more automated. That's great. So I think it could be a really good way to get a good email address from someone since it's delivering their login, email. So I think it's definitely got great possibilities. And then I think Tracy also asked about Instagram ads too that are now available. So
through the Facebook ad manager, because Facebook, of course, owns Instagram. Just for those of you who may not be familiar.
So So that's available to more people, and actually it's rolling out. So it's not on every account yet. I've seen it on a couple of my client accounts, so I've been wanting to test that out, and I will get a chance to test that out here soon. But I think it's definitely interesting, and I've actually used them myself on Instagram where I've been browsing, I see something, and I go and use the ad itself to see how it all works, and it's really great.
So what do you tell us a little more about how that works? Is that, I really like Instagram. I think it's really fun visual environment.
Yeah, so you've got the little button that says, you can customize a little button to see more, or I think it's I don't know what all the buttons are allowed there. There's probably things that are similar to Facebook, learn more, probably shop now, things like that. And I can't remember the button I clicked, but I clicked over, sent me to a landing page right away. And then I was able to take action on that landing page. And it was I thought worked really well. Because especially, I don't know, I'm not a huge fan of ads on Instagram because I like using Instagram really purely for fun and photos. I don't do any marketing there myself. I just use it for my own personal photos. So it's
clearly it would underscore the importance of making sure your landing page is mobile friendly. It's always going to be on a smartphone.
Definitely.
And I would think that if you're an early adopter getting in there, that you'll see some less cost per click. Because in general, it's a smaller universe, and there's generally advantages to that, don't you think?
Yeah, and definitely, I mean, it depends. I'm actually reading Tracy's comment here on how she used it, and she said the Instagram users aren't used to it yet, so there was a little bit of negative feedback, and I can see that being a possibility in there, and that's because, again, that's how I feel about Instagram. It feels a little bit less promotional to me, so when I see someone being overly promotional, I usually end up unfollowing them, and so I think that could be the case with ads as people get used to having advertisements in that space, but it could be that it's a lower click price. It started out where advertisers had to pay $10,000 or more, I think, for the chance to get in and use advertising, like Levi Jeans, the early adopters. So
and big brands, obviously.
Yeah, and it is in Power Editor only, so you have to go into that Power Editor to get that access to
the Chrome browser. Yeah, Tracy, feel free to jump in if you want to make comments on camera. I think that what that points back to is what we were talking about earlier of leading with value. If you're straight out promo on Instagram, it's going to be inappropriate. But if you're really sharing something useful and valuable that is genuinely valuable, that makes sense.
Right. And Rachel's saying that she had great feedback so far. So again, I think it does depend on the offer, and it depends on, who you might be targeting to. A lot of
what your brand is. I mean, the personal brand of a photographer, for example, would be very much in context.
Yeah.
But it's like it's always appropriate to be in context of the medium.
Yep.
Yeah. That's true. Anything else, Jody, or anybody else? We got about 10 minutes left.
Yeah. Well, I was just going to say with the lead.
Oh, video ads are coming up again. I'm sorry, Jody, I cut you off. I'm reading the chat while you're talking.
That's all right. It's your show.
You can interrupt whoever I want.
Whenever I want.
So we did talk about video ads earlier, and we did not have a lot of experience with that, is the truth in answer to that question.
Yeah, I did a lot. I did video ads for sure, but I didn't find that they were an amazingly lower cost per opt-in. In fact, a lot of times it was higher cost per opt-in than the other ads I was running. So, and I thought the videos were good. So I was a little partial to the videos that were going with my clients. I thought this is going to rock. And it did rock in terms of cost per video view, which was awesome, but it didn't drive traffic as much. And it didn't, then because the cost per website click was higher, that of course is going to make the cost per lead higher. Well, I mean, not necessarily, but
And I'll reiterate what you said earlier, which is that it really needs to be tested because it's going to depend a lot on what you're doing and what you're saying. The thing for me and my big rap about video, and I guess it gives me an opportunity to say, I'm going to talk about digital video specifically and the future of video and all the remaking of the digital video landscape, which is an area of expertise, next Friday on Fridays at 4 Pacific USA time. But the thing we said earlier is, the thing that I say about video is that it's a different kind of engagement. I mean, that's why I'm on Blab, is because I feel like people get to know me a little bit. And, and video, even within an ad context on Facebook, can be more personal if you do it in that way. If you're like crazy Eddie, bye. It's not going to work. It's not going to work. I don't think, unless you're the right personality. But I would not recommend that. Would you? No. All right. Let's see. Other questions. If you do /Q and a space, it'll show up as a question, or we have an open seat. Jody, are you? You're just hanging with us, or did you have another question?
Oh, I am, but it will pop out. But I was just going to say, before I was so rudely interrupted.
Forgive me.
So with the lead ads, so I read Jon Leland's article, and that was great. He was getting some really good results from it. So I gave it a bit of a go. And so the one thing that you've got to look out for, though, is the leads that come in you need a link with an API. There's specific ones that will link up at the moment, but at the moment you won't automatically get a notification if you don't link with an API that you've got a lead. So you have to go into your page, you have to go to publishing tools on the right corner, and then you have to go to the forms library and download the CSV file and import that over to your list. So that's just a heads up for the lead ads.
Yeah. I think that's the problem for most. If they're not getting it connected right to their system in some way, then it's just a little bit of a hassle. But if it's worth it, if you are getting lower costs per lead. So getting good email addresses too.
Yeah. I really appreciate all the specific tips that we're going through here, because it's like, a lot of people have never even seen it and they're intimidated. And to recap from the beginning, welcome everybody that's joining us here in the last 5 minutes. Be in it to win it. It's like you learn by doing, you learn by testing, you learn by experimenting and getting your feet wet. Or what's the website for the social media manager directory? Did I get that right?
Yes, socialmediamanagersdirectory.com. Yep.
Managers, plural.
Yeah.
I'll put that in the Facebook description also. I'm sorry, in the YouTube description also.
Yeah,
yeah, good, and it's in the chat there. You know, I think a lot of us will really benefit from having somebody trained, and Andrea Vahl is not only an authority, she's also training social media managers and letting them be in the directory so you can find people. And then there's, of course, Odesk and all those other places too.
Yeah.
Okay.
Are there other resources you recommend for collaborators?
For collaborators,
or your directory?
I'll jump in now. I'm feeling weird. Bye.
Jody, nice to meet you. Welcome. And
thanks for your questions.
See you again.
That was good. I'm feeling weird. That's funny. I'm feeling weird too, you know, but that's just kind of daily life. So, you know, lots of those are good. Definitely good sites. And I think, you know, even just searching through LinkedIn connections that you might have can be good to find someone you might know who is connected and an expert in that area too.
What's a typical price range for a social media manager that's savvy with Facebook ads?
It can vary. I think people do need to make sure that you have that you are hiring someone who is trained in that, because I think there are some dabblers out there, and you want to have people who are very specifically trained. So that's just look at their credentials, and there's a lot of our graduates on the call right now. So
you're not going to give me a price range?
No. So, you know, it varies by country too. I think that a lot of social media managers are starting at a one-on-one consulting rate of $50 an hour. I think that is kind of the base level, and it can go up from there. I see, you know, I mean, it depends on the experience level. It also can sometimes depend. And so that's one-on-one consulting. I think if you're looking for someone to do ongoing maintenance for you, that can range a huge amount, you know, anywhere from $300 a month up to $2,000 a month, depending on if you're having someone handle all your social media, all your online marketing, Facebook ad campaigns, all kinds of things like that. So there can be, you know, you could almost have someone doing it. And if you're having someone do it like almost full time, it can even be more than that, who's a contractor, but kind of, you know, doing your launch full time or whatever it is. I know some people come in for a very specific reason to launch a product and really give a big splash on social media. And so those people are almost full-time employees for that launch period. And then, you know, you're able to kind of bring down the amount of work they're doing after that launch period. So that can be a great way to kind of have a flexible workforce. Yeah.
And a lot of it depends on, you know, the overall strategy, right? We're not just talking about Facebook advertising. So we might run a couple minutes over, but I want to run my 3-stage model by you.
Okay.
The feedback, because, you know, the bottom line is that, and I'm recommending AndreaVahl.com, so I know somebody will paste it in the chat for us, and it's VAHL.com for those of you that may be watching on YouTube. But she's got this great quick start guide, and part of that is setting up your profiles and so forth. So my 3-stage model, I'll do this very quickly, is that you create a foundation or a presence by doing those profiles and by optimizing them, knowing what your keywords are and who you're looking for. Then you become visible vis-a-vis content. So you express that authentic voice and become yourself out there, so people get to know you and what the real value that you're offering. And then you move to the more sophisticated level of creating funnels and courses and really kind of tracking conversions. Yeah. Do you think that's a useful model?
I think that's perfect. It's a really perfect way to address that, because I think sometimes people think that they're going to jump right into the funnels area, but you really do have to kind of grow your audience with those first 2 stages. You know, you have to, and make sure that your presence is optimized. So for sure.
Yeah. So a lot of people don't think this through, and that, you know, and you're talking about strategy. I'm talking about strategy. And so Quick Start Guide gives you orientation. I mentioned my book, Internet Marketing, 8 Key Concepts Every Business Must Know, which breaks down social media, pay-per-click, video, and kind of the value proposition that we were just talking about.
Right.
And I do websites and internet marketing consulting, and video. I've been doing video for years. Combridges.com. There's my URL.
Awesome.
What else should we tell about you and the various offerings you have?
So I have. So actually, we put in earlier the free webinars that I have. I also have the full course on Facebook Advertising Secrets.com, and that and then you get into my group, and I have a Facebook group on there where we talk about anything that comes up. People get feedback on their specific ads, and I'm in there all the time, like answering questions if there's some kind of crazy thing that's happening with Facebook ads, which there usually is. So anyway, those are some of my best resources, I would say. Just connect with me. And I also do a lot of posts on Facebook advertising. So just follow my blog. Great.
You really have your finger on the pulse of this, and I'm really grateful that you took an hour with us and shared so much specifics. And obviously the replay will be there. I'll put it up on Facebook. But
awesome.
So this is Fridays at 4. Welcome. Great. You're welcome to come back anytime. Yeah. And we hope to see you all next week.
Yeah, great. Thanks, everyone. Good to see you.